Hello. Hello, hello. College football is back, Stan. Yeah. Nice to get back to life. Hi, Stan. How are you? Raina, good morning. Oh, yeah. My husband is happy that the NFL is here. He's not so much of a college football player, but he is definitely NFL. Good morning, Michael. How are you? All right. How is everyone? I really am hopeful that the internet situation will be good today. Um, mhm, I can't see if you guys write to me without those. Um, Really interesting. They're doing something to our neighborhood. They're being very secretive, and they have I don't know if monopoly, whatever you call that, when it's only one company. We cannot shop around, so it's not really monopoly, but whatever. Anyway, so it's just such a bummer. We're at their mercy. And I've seen the trucks here and we've gone out to ask them questions. We've called. And so they say that it's a usage issue. Everybody's on their computer trying to work from home or do school from home. So hopefully today there's no issues. So far this morning, there haven't been for me. I've been able to get on. Uh, Hi, Lynn. I've been able to get on all morning, so I'm really hopeful that there will be zero internet issues. And if there are, I will hotspot with my phone. And then my girlfriend, she did it the other day and she said, I'm probably going to have a lot of roaming charges or cellular charges. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. So we'll see what happens because I've had to hotspot a few times this week. Lynn, I hope Dave is with you and I hope you both are doing well. So if anybody wants to let me know if there's anything in particular that's bothering you, and that could be in the body or in the mind. So whether that's the emotional aspects of you, which would be the word stress, right? Stress, we think of that word. It's really weird, right? That word stress, it's like, where is it? Where is it coming from? Where is that word? We know where it shows up. We see the symptoms of stress and especially chronic stress. But when we think of that word, it's kind of like, where is that stress? Where is it? Where is it? And especially if usually it's invisible, right? So, and even if you think about this pandemic that we're going through, I heard a doctor say one time that it's an invisible enemy. Even though it is really tiny and you could see it in a microscope, we're not looking in microscopes all the time. So you don't know, does this person have it? Does this person have it? When I'm here, am I subjected to it? This is a more virulent strain. This is a more contagious strain. What does that mean? Do I have to keep my mouth closed? Can I breathe it? Will it go in my eyes? I don't know if you guys think that, but I'm like, does this like go into the mucous membrane of the eyes? Because we've got masks on. I close my mouth when I'm outside. I don't know if I've shared that with you all. The nose has little hairs in there, little cilia that has the ability to stop things that come in the body and to start the inflammatory response, which is protection. And that's why we get mucus or boogers. There's also a palate on the back of our throat as the breath goes down into the lungs, a sticky palate where things get stuck. So the immune system can actually deal with foreign substances. So one really great thing to boost your immunity and to protect yourself is to keep your mouth closed and to breathe in and out through your nose. We practice that a lot in the practice of yoga. So I'd like to suggest that as well, even with a mask on, is to try to keep your mouth closed and breathe in and out through your nose. All right. So if there is nothing else to report, then why don't we get started moving our body? This is the last class of this session. I teach in 8-week chunks, and then I'm off for a week. And I'm actually really taking off for this week. I'm going to go away by myself, and I'm going to make it a total Debbie self-care 5 days. Of course, I'm going to work too, and I'm going to work on my programs and all my things, but it's going to be total self-care. So I've got my castor oil pack ready, my dry brush ready. I'm bringing my blender, my watermelon. I'm going to do a watermelon fast one day. I'm going to make green smoothies and really nutrient dense oatmeal and chia pudding. So it's going to be a 5 days of care. And I'm actually going to videotape a lot of it because I think that it's a lot of what I'll share with the people I work with privately as a health coach when I run functional labs on them. And so anyway, I'm looking really forward to that. So I'm off tomorrow, actually, to go on my adventures. All right. So let's begin today. Let's come back here. Now, all right. Let me turn this around. All right. So, I'd like to suggest that for today's class, you switch things around. So if you typically set your mat up like this, you put your head on this side, and if you're watching this, you watch it over one shoulder. I'd like you to shift to make a change. So do that right now, because that's what creates strength in us, is that we are coming up against something where we have to shift or change. And it's the process of shifting or changing that actually creates strength in us. So if we keep doing the same old thing over and over, if we keep eating the same foods every day, if we keep subjecting ourselves to the same things every day, it's either going to be for the worse and not typically for the better in terms of strengthening you. So you need a little challenge every day to your nervous system, to your to your proprioception, to your eyes, to the way that you look. Like most of us have a dominant eye. We look out of one side all the time, which means our body is in this shape, this direction all the time. So I'd like to suggest that right now you shift where you are. If your mat is facing straight on, put it at an angle. If your blanket is at one side of the mat, take it to the other side of the mat. So do something a little different so that we actually bring in a appropriate level of stress, like we ask for some change or shift, and then we adapt to that shift. It's a very small thing to do, yet, and it's manageable and in our control, yet this is how you get stronger. This is how you become more resilient, is you are forced to make a shift. And if you make that shift appropriately, that builds resiliency. So please shift your stuff right now. I'm gonna give you a little time to move, even if it's as simple as taking your blanket from one end of the mat to the other, because that's gonna get you to look over a different shoulder, right? And then come to, hopefully you've done that now, come to a seated position. And then I want you to take your hands like this. So, pointer fingers are together, thumbs are together. And then I want you to go like this and make a very small opening. So there's a very small opening. Let me see if you can see. Okay, see, it's against my black shirt. So there's a very small opening right here that you're going to look through. So you're going to take this and you're going to look at, make sure it's pretty small though. You don't want it to be big that both eyes could see. You want it to be small so that only one eye could see. So find me on the screen, whatever you're looking at, and make the hole that you're looking through pretty small. So make that hole pretty small so that you could see me, okay? And then you're going to close your right eye. And notice if you see it. Don't move your hands to try to see me. And then close your left eye and see if you see me. Okay, let's do that again. So keep your hands straight. You do not move your hands to try to find this. I want you to focus first on me. Try to make it the smallest focus you can, really focusing on a very small area. And then now you're going to close your left eye and notice if you still see me. 2/3 of you will still see me. 2/3 of the population is right eye dominant. Now I would like you to close the right eye and notice if you could see me. And for 2/3 of you, you will not be able to see me anymore. And then go ahead and put your hands down. What does that mean? There's a dominant eye that we look out of. And when you set up your gaze, you used a small space and you looked and you set it up over the eye that you're dominant. Most people are right eye. And when I would do this in my classes, when I was in person with people, let me say that for me, it's like 90% of the time, people are right eye dominant and only 10% they were left. So what that means is if you think about a pizza wedge or a pie wedge where the center is narrow and it gets wider as you go to the crust, that is the visual that you're looking through with whatever eye you have dominant. So if you're right eye dominant, then this pizza wedge is where you're looking. And what that means also is that your head is going to turn in that way. And most often, I mean, these are like big percentages. It's not always the case. Sometimes I've noticed that people are right eye dominant, yet they're left-handed. So it's not always this relationship between this diagonal pattern of that. I've found that many, almost most, are right eye. So you're here all the time. So today, I'd like you right now, whatever side you're dominant on, look over the other side for a second. Just look over the other side. And notice if there's tension in your head or neck from doing that. Notice what you're able to bring into your field of vision. And then take your head and move your head to the other side. And notice if you feel a more expansive periphery view of what you're seeing. So I know that for me, I do. And if I were in person with you, you could give me feedback, and that would be great because I would hear you. And I've done this many times, so I'll tell you the feedback usually is much more expansive view. I want to raise your awareness to this because that means that you spend your day in one place. And I want you to try to bring in, challenge yourself, strengthen your visual field. And the visual field is a big part of our balance. So for those of you that are aging, let's say out of your 30s and 40s, and maybe even out of your 40s into your 50s, or out of your 60s or out of your 50s, or whatever you are. If balance is important to you, this is a really great thing to start doing to actually expand yourself, to have more options, to fire more neurons, to get into that brain of yours, do some brain exercise and some balance challenging and some visual. And then also there's a muscular component to this as well. All right, so that was a lot to chew on, right? Hopefully you've switched to a different place. Today's practice, let's get a block, let's get a strap, put those off to the side, and then a blanket to support your head. This is the beginning of the practice. So if you want super comfortable, go ahead and fold the blanket a little bit more to support your head. And then if you're working on postural correction, many people, my back is pretty straight here, right? But for a lot of people, the head is forward and maybe there's some roundness in the upper back. So the head in relationship to the back here, there's a bigger difference than there was. Okay, so if you want a little bit more postural correction, go a little lower with the blanket. Let's go on the ground. Let's practice the mouth closed, breathing in through the nose. That's really helpful for boosting the immune system. Let's take your hand away from you. Bring yourself all the way down onto the ground. And then slide your shoulder blades closer to your spine. Set your skeleton up here to be in alignment, because being out of alignment is a stressor in your body. It's a stressor in your joints, leads to arthritis, bone spurs, calcifications. It's also a stressor because it takes the minerals out of the bones to balance what's happening when you're out of alignment. So bring yourself into this position, and then you could straighten your legs if that feels comfortable for you. For me, I feel more comfortable with my knees bent, my feet are flat, and the feet could be a little wider than your body, and allow the knees to flop in towards each other. Let the knees rest against each other, and then bring your hands. So let's bring whatever hand you'd like, one up to the upper chest and one to the lower belly. This is a diagonal pattern of breathing. This is the first breath that I used the most when I started practicing yoga, when I didn't quite have the skills to manage my mental energy. When I was in my 30s, if I had thoughts, or a lot of activity in my life and I needed to slow down, this was the first real way that I slowed down my mind and started practicing breath and mindfulness, and then deeper meditation. So when you're here, begin by closing your eyes, closing your mouth. So we're closing off things that we consume with. We consume with our eyes. We consume with our mouths. So close off your mouth, close off your eyes. And then the ears, there's not a lot of extra stimulation. You'll hear my voice. We're going to turn on the sense of feeling. So we're going to turn on the skin, the largest organ in the body. We're going to turn on that aspect of us. So I'd like you to do a little bit of a gentle restriction in the throat. So the Ujjayi breath, the victorious breath or ocean breath, is when we actually slightly restrict our throat. And let's get that in case that's a hard thing for you. So take the hand that's on the heart, bring it in front of your mouth, and imagine you're fogging up a mirror on your exhale. Take a big inhale through your nose. Like you're fogging up a mirror because you're going to draw a heart in there, a heart for yourself. Close your mouth, take your hand back on your heart. Still try to make that sound on the exhale. And stay right there. Stay there in your throat. Visualizing a ocean or a cool breeze. Noticing if for you anything triggering comes up around that. So whenever there's a potential for something to percolate to the surface that could be triggering, at that moment, really touch your body. Remind yourself where you are, what the date is, what the time is, the reality of everything that exists in this present moment. So if there are any triggered memories that come up, there was an imprinting at one point, biochemically and physiologically, that gets stimulated by something. Repattern that with present moment, the date, the time, the way your feet feel on the ground, the feel of your skin. So whenever you notice anything unpleasant, say, oops, time to repattern that, time to let go of that, time to move beyond. So keeping your awareness in your throat, gentle, beautiful whisper. Let your back teeth be separated, the lips are touching. Add these words on your next exhale. I am whispering. Really slow like that. I am whispering. Throat on your exhale. I am whispering. Adding on to that, I am whispering and I feel it in my throat. I am whispering and I feel it in my throat. Or I am whispering and I notice it in my throat. Extending your exhale. Take one more breath like that. Now we're going to do a little wave-like breath. So moving from the Ujjayi, the awareness of the throat and the restriction of the flow of breath. Let that go. Allow the breath to freely flow in, and let's direct the breath all the way down to the belly, filling the lower lobes up and then the upper lobes. And the same thing, emptying from the lower lobes to the upper lobes. Using your primary breathing muscle, your diaphragm, to do the action. So let's prepare by creating a lot of space in your lungs. Take a big exhale. Begin to breathe to the belly and then to the chest. Empty from the belly to the chest. Inhale belly and then chest. Exhale belly and then chest. Inhale belly, chest. Exhale belly, chest. Continue on your own. Breathing down to your belly, let that hand expand that's on your belly, and then let the hand on the chest expand. Starting and ending, filling and emptying from the bottom of the lungs, using your diaphragm, your primary breathing muscle, to do the action. Keep going. If your mind gets distracted, bring it back. You're breathing into the belly and then the chest. You're exhaling from the belly and then the chest. And then finish the breath you're on. Take 3 more breaths. Stay as connected as you can to the breath the whole time. And notice if you get distracted. And finish up your last breath. Let the breath go, give it back to your body. If your legs are bent, if you want to straighten them, go ahead and do that. If you'd like to come into a full body stretch, do that. And then imagine you just woke up from a big nap and yawn and stretch. Try to see if you could yawn. You know what a yawn is? A yawn is when your heart rate dips too low, your acidity in your blood, the alkalinity, acidity is shifting, and you need to take in a deeper breath. So yawns are triggered because you need to bring in more breath. That's what the brain does. It triggers the yawn. So you bring in more oxygen so you could get rid of more carbon dioxide so you could balance off the blood pH. The other side to that is when the heart rate is too accelerated, when you need to slow down, the brain will stimulate the and you know, if you're go, 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 think about it. The days that you're go, 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 draw your knees into your chest. Let's massage our backs while I tell you this. The days that you go, 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 I always think of the visual of a woman shopping in the mall. I don't know why I do that, because it's really not even me. I'm not one of those people that shops like that. I usually do it in like one big, every like few months or something. Anyway, you know, you're running, and then you plop yourself down into a big chair and you go, ah. Well, a sigh is all exhalation, which means you're going to get rid of carbon dioxide. And a yawn is an inhale, bringing in oxygen. So oxygen to increase the heart rate, carbon dioxide to kind of, and inhale stimulates sympathetic branch, exhale stimulates parasympathetic. So it's that constant, unbelievable inner intelligence of you subconsciously, when you're not even thinking about it, but your body is. Take your arms and legs up to the air. Let's shake, shake, shake. And then let's come onto your side. Take your hands, spread your hands. Lead with your shoulder, not your head. Come back down. Notice, are you one to go like this, to roll onto your side, right? Roll on, and then try to lift up using your pull muscles, lifting your head, straining your neck, straining muscles, and maybe even pulling a muscle. And the reason why your back goes out is because you were trying to get up incorrectly. So come forward, hand on the ground, reach with your shoulder. For those of you that have a lot of stress, a lot of issues in your tissues, a lot of pain and stuff in your body, pay attention to how you're throwing your bag of bones around all day long and start to make some shifts. All right. Here, I want you to come onto all fours and start crawling around. Keep your head lifted. So keep the head up pretty high here. So strengthening the upper back and neck muscles, especially those of you that have that roundness of posture, or if you sit around a lot and you're looking down, a lot of working, that is you gardening, cooking, knitting, throwing clay, making pots, or growing pot. I'm in California, so that's okay, actually, if you do. Bring yourself back to center. I don't grow pots, I grow other stuff. Not that I wouldn't, I mean, it's not. Well, one thing, I was in my garden yesterday, I have a lot of dahlias. I think those of you that know me know that. I have at least 150 that I've planted, a little obsessed. And you know what's amazing? I have praying mantises in my garden. And I've been told that praying mantises are a good sign. So hopefully, all right, we're gonna do a little chest expansion. So bring your hands behind you. Bring your hands behind you. See if you could touch your palms. Now, a lot of you will not be able to. If you can touch your palms and clasp your fingers, try that. Or if you need to have your fingers apart, because you might not have that, or try to grab onto your wrists or onto your elbows. So try something where you could start to open up that beautiful chest of yours, stretching the front of the shoulders, stretching the pectorals, so shoulder muscles, chest muscles, and then take your hands away from you, and then notice my low back curve, how it's pretty deep. I have a pretty deep extension curve. See if you could flatten that curve out by pointing your tailbone down towards the ground, and think about your pubis bone here, the bottom of you. Think about lifting up, you know, like suspenders, where you would lift it up like that and it would lift up the pants. Think about lifting up your pubic bone so that you come into a posterior pelvic tilt to protect that low back when you do this. And then I'd like all of us to grab our elbows, see if you can. I'm not with you. I imagine that this is doable for most. And I want you to notice what forearm you have on top. I feel a deeper shoulder stretch, front shoulder stretch. It also forces the shoulders to go down. This is great for posture. For those of you that sit a lot, you want to take the stress out of your body from sitting. And sitting is the new smoking, and sitting actually affects your mental emotional state, and it affects your body. It's not good for us to sit as much as we do. So this is to reduce that stress of sitting, taking your arms like this. And then I want you to notice which arm is on top, and I want you to shift it. So take the other forearm on top and notice what you notice there. Maybe you notice something, maybe you don't. Now I want you to look over your non-dominant eye side. So we did the dominant eye test in the beginning of today's practice. I want you to look on the side that you're not dominant on. So we're doing a little bit more challenge, a little strengthening of our proprioceptive nervous system, of sight, lots of things. And then take your arms down. Ooh, I definitely feel that deep stretch here. Okay, so today's practice, I'm going to do a lot of release work, big stuff. And I want you to do what's appropriate for you. Okay, so maybe some of these movements are a little bit strong, and I want you to do what's appropriate for you, especially those of you with back issues. Because if you go too far, if you go past your comfort zone, all streams lead to the ocean. Most of the areas in the body, especially skeletally, so it's your musculoskeletal layer in your joints, so much goes to the low back. So pay attention to when is the place for you to stop, and check your ego at the door. We all have an ego. It comes in with us. We try to do more than we can, all of us. And so let's make this about our ego and a lot of self-care right now, doing what's appropriate for us. So we're going to begin the practice with a pretty big posture, the plank posture. You're going to come into whatever variation is appropriate for you, down onto the forearms if you need to do that. All right, let's come into our plank. So I want you to come into your plank. Make sure your pointer fingers are forward, and then walk your hands closer together so they're underneath your shoulders. Walk your feet so they're only about 4 inches apart. So be in a real narrow stance here with your plank. If at any point you need to come down, come down. All right, if you want to challenge yourself, push your heels back, push your fingertips into the floor. Let's lift the right leg off the floor. Not too high so that you go into extension in the lower lumbar and aggravate your low back. And then put that foot down. Make sure all 5 toes are touching. Lift the other foot off the ground. Make sure your body doesn't collapse. You feel strong in your body. Bring that down. Bring your awareness to your left hand. Push your body weight to the left. Bring the right hand up. Bring that hand down. Bring your body weight over to the right. Left hand up. Bring that hand down. Last one, walk your feet a little closer together. Push your right foot into the floor. Lift your left leg off and try to take the right hand off. And put that down. Woo! Lift your right leg off and left hand. And then come down. Stretch you out here. Stretch yourself out on the mat, because if you could stretch yourself out here and challenge yourself appropriately and manage what you need to manage here, it helps us manage what we need to manage when we're off the mat. And I learned that pretty early on in my yoga practice with one of my favorite teachers at the time. And she said, stretch yourself out on the mat so you can manage stress off the mat. And I thought, what? But I get it. All right. Woo! Feel your heart rate. Let's do some. And then hug yourself. Inhale. And then hug yourself. Inhale. Hug yourself. And then one more. Okay, I have to preface, or I have to share something. So I'm working on balancing my minerals right now because I did a hair mineral test on myself, and I feel like I'm like ready to run a marathon because my metabolism is being so boosted by rebalancing my minerals. So if I seem a little feisty today, if today's practice seems a little more than usual, that's why. And remember, you have to do what's appropriate for you. Like that diagonal arm off and leg off is pretty challenging. Something you may be able to work up to, or something that might not ever be in your practice. All right. So let's come on to our, I want you to stretch your wrists. So with the wrist stretch, you could either stay up here and bend the wrist like this and like this, keeping the arms straight, or you could try it on the ground where the palms go on the ground, the fingertips go towards you, palm on the ground, fingertips towards you, and then you move your body back and forth a little. Keeping our wrists strong is very important because as we get older, let's say whatever that number is, I don't know, but the chance of tripping or slipping and needing to brace your trip or slip, the hands usually are part of that. So the more play, the more dance, the more range of motion you have in your joints of your wrist, then you can minimize the risk of getting a stress fracture when you bend too much, too fast, and you pull on bones and fracture them. And then let's take the hands away. Also, we're strengthening the joint, we're strengthening the bones, and we're strengthening the muscles when we weight bear on our arms. So that plank series would do that. Flip your hands under. Now the backs of my hands are on the ground and my fingers are pointing towards my knees. Okay, so this next series we're going to go into is going to stretch our body glove in a pretty big way. It's a lunge series. And what I notice is that this can be something that the ego shows up and you might do a little bit more than you should. So really pay attention and be inside your body. Hopefully that plank kind of got you real body grounded because it was so challenging. So it's like, woo, you get right in there. All right, I'd like you to go to the side that you were not dominant. So just remember that this right here, focusing on me with your small opening, it's a very small opening, focusing on me. If you close your left eye and you still see me, that means you're right eye dominant. And if you close your right eye and you don't see me, that's because you were right eye dominant, right? So whichever eye you've lined up with. And when you're with someone, like maybe you guys could tell on me, when I do this on myself and I make a small hole, you could probably tell that opening is over my right eye, right? Because I'm right eye dominant. So that's what I'd like you to do so you know which side dominant you are. So I'm going to go to my left side because I'm right eye dominant. So I want to start on the left side because we are going to rotate over that side. I want to do left side. So here's the levels for this. The most important thing is this. The ankle is in front of the knee. You do not have the ankle closer to your body. This angle here of my knee, you don't want it to be this deep. I want that angle to be a little less. Now this brings up balance challenges. So when you do come with your stance, the wider the stance is, the more balanced you'll feel. The closer to center you put your knee and your foot, the more challenging. So you decide what you'd like to do. You could challenge yourself more because look, you're pretty close to the floor, right? So falling from here, I don't know. I don't think I've had anybody fall from here, to be honest. I say this like you're close, don't worry, you're not going to fall. I haven't really had anybody fall, which is good because that means everybody comes in with the intelligence of not going too far. So either bring your legs closer together or farther apart. And the goal here today is to bring in some stress challenge, to stress yourself out a little bit, going to an edge, but not, of course, over. Walk your foot forward. The more forward it is, the more challenging this will be in terms of balance. Then push that foot into the ground. See if you could feel that glute activate. And even take your fingers and feel the muscles of the glute lovingly. So if you happen to come up against some stored energy, be like, oh, I see you. Okay, I'll get to you. I'll go on some 2-mile walk soon to get rid of you. Or Oh, great. Thank you. I'm going to need you for those walks that I'm going to do. Thanks for being here. Let's go on walks soon together. That's what it is. We'll talk to our stored energy. Oh, okay. We'll go on some walks together. All right. Take your hands either on your thighs or on the block. We're going to come forward in an inhale and exhale out. Inhale in, exhale out. You want a little bit more challenge? Inhale in with both arms, exhale out. Inhale in, so either arms are up, arms are on the thighs, or one hand on the block, one hand on the thigh. You do you, everyone else is taken. One more, come forward, stay there. So if your hands are here, they're here. If they're on the block, they're on the block. And if you'd like to challenge yourself and bring your arms up, try that. Reach your hands up, look up. And then let's bring the hands together, right by the heart. Even let the thumbs touch the heart. And now move the hands over facing that kneecap and beyond if you can. So the hands are at the heart and you move the hands over to face this kneecap. And then you're going to bend at your hip, come closer to your thigh, take your elbow on the outside of your knee, put your hands together and try to rotate your trunk a little bit more. Make sure you're not up here with your legs. You really want that back leg to be unbending that hip joint. If you could flip the toes under, if you could lift the knee off, you could try that. You don't have to. This is the pose when I do lunges where people will report to me afterwards, ooh, that was a little intense. So you have to be careful, please. Listen to your body. Now lengthen your spine, get tall, reach your head away, get 2 inches taller in your spine. Take one more breath. And then slowly bring yourself down, bring yourself out and up, and let's take a break. So either sit down on top of your heels if your knees will let you, or stay up here and take a break. The lunges are really great because they help to take sitting out of our bodies, and they lengthen the legs from the body, right? The only muscle that attaches, or the muscle that attaches upper and lower body is the psoas, your loin, your filet mignon, and it attaches to the low back. That's why for those of you with low back issues, if you do go too big in these, we're in the low back. So you need to be careful with that move. So really being careful not to go too intense, yet understanding that this is a potential to release some of that tension in low back. So be in it where you feel is appropriate for you. All right, we're going to go to the other side. I think I'll go here because I want to be able to face you. So you're going to bring the other leg forward. And first you're going to establish what you need. So you're going to walk it forward, which is going to put you in a little bit more of a balance challenge. And from there, do you need to walk it closer to the center? Or do you need to be closer to or wider? Now this is hip balance in the standing leg. So the leg you're balancing on, the back leg, is your balancing leg. And this is challenging that hip joint. And this is my hip replacement. So this is not quite as strong of a leg for me in terms of balance as my other side is. So even if I were pretty far forward and pretty close to the center on my other side, this side doesn't have that option, right? Because ceramic, plastic, and titanium don't communicate the same way that bones and all that connective tissue does. All right, crazy, crazy. So I'm challenging myself. I'm going a little closer, trying to see, is this appropriate? And then I'll go a little farther, but I don't want to go too far because I want to be here. I want you to be in a place of challenge. So either go closer together like a tightrope or wider apart like a mountain. And then we're going to do some of the flowing, the movement part. And what we're doing is we're stretching your filet mignon on that back leg. That's why this whole pelvis needs to come forward and the bend needs to be at the kneecap and at the hip joint. That's what you want. That's the function of this. This is not about, can I come forward? No, this is, ooh, can I bend my hip? Can I bend my knee? Hip and knee flexion. Hip and knee. So be in your knee, be in your hip. So your hands are either on the block and on the leg to give you some nice stability, or both hands are on the top of the leg, or your hands are coming up with you and your gaze. Oh, feel that deep stretch alongside the belly as you stretch your filet mignon. Ooh. One more. Come forward and stay forward if your hands are down. And if you want to try to bring them up, or if you want to bring one up, bring the one up that's not on the side of the leg that's forward. That's where you get that opportunity to stretch your psoas. And then go ahead and bring your hands together. Bring the thumb to touch the heart. And then move the hands over that front leg. Probably you'll feel a stretch alongside the belly button of that back leg. And then take your hand on the outside of your leg. Hands are together. I felt a spinal adjustment there. Flip the back toes under if you'd like, coming up only if it's appropriate for you. And then lengthen. Can you get 2 inches taller in your spine? And rotate more if you can. Take one more breath. Back leg down. Bring yourself forward. Bring yourself up. Now, if you're able to bend your knees, can you flip your toes under? So you flip your toes under, and bring your feet together if you can. Then you sit on your heels. And if you can't do that, maybe you could do it up here, flipping your toes under, stretching your feet. This is to stretch the feet. So balance is not just about standing on one leg. It's about keeping your tissues stretched and receptive. Most of the balance takes place in the body right here around the ankle joint area. So getting the feet nice and stretched. I'd like to share one of my favorite stretches, which I know is not for everyone. Those whose knees don't bend, this will not be for you. If your knees bend, sit on one foot and take the other leg back. So see, I'm sitting on this foot and I'm taking the other leg back. And actually, it's nice if you have a block here and you push into the block. That's really going to stretch the heck out of the abdominal area and the filet mignon, the psoas. It's more passive. So it's not weighted in the way that a lunge is. And then let's switch. I won't stay there for very long because I know that some of you are not able to do that. This is one of my favorites. It feels pretty yummy in the hip flexor area, and I really feel that deep belly stretch alongside my psoas. And then use your breath, breathe down there to make it a little deeper. And then come up. And if your knees are not bendable, or it's hard to bend like that, there's other things you could do. So the stretch in and of itself, being here, for people whose knees don't bend very much, this leg here, this leg that's in the front, when you come forward like that, you're stretching your psoas. So this is doable for many, many people. Taking your legs a little wider if balance is a challenge for you. This is an entryway into stretching that part of your body, taking sitting out of your body. So just finding what's appropriate for you. It's your practice. These postures are developed to stretch different parts of our body. And it's not a one size fits all model. It's like clay, and you're molding yourself towards that shape. With the intention of stretching, opening, lengthening, whatever it is we're doing. Let's come to the standing position and do the side body. One of my favorites is the gate latch. Now with this, if you can get your leg to come straight off your body, great. And if you can't, that's also great. If you need to walk your foot a little more forward, go ahead and do that. So I am straight off the body with the parallel foot, but you may need to be a little bit forward, and that's okay if you need to do that. Just try to find what's appropriate. What would be really nice here is to get the toes pointing forward and to get the pinky toe edge on the floor and try to get the arch to lift off, and even do a little rock and roll action there with your foot. And then here, another part of the body, this is the lateral chain. Lateral chain, very important for balance. And when we have that held stress in our body, that muscular tension in our body, let's see if we can get to some of that. So here, notice if you feel right here, this is not a straight line. I'm trying to get the shape of a letter L to come in. Now it won't be a complete L. This is lateral hip joint. I guess the gymnasts that are on the balance beam, or the people that could do their legs to the side like this, which constitutes maybe 0.1% of the population. So nothing I will ever be doing in this lifetime. I have no desire to, but I would like to have a nice range of motion in my hip joint. And this is my, I guess we'll call it, is it a fake hip? It's not a fake hip because it's a hip and it helps me live my life. This is my plastic and metal hip and ceramic. So the toes are forward, the pinky toe edge is parallel, and you're letting this come into your body. Then take the hand down alongside the body, nice long spine, and lift your chest. Imagine you have 2 helium balloons here on your clavicle bones, and they're helping to lift your spine up towards the sky. And then your hand, point the palm forward. The thumb is reaching back as if you were hitchhiking. So there's this external rotation in that shoulder joint, taking that upper arm bone deep into the socket, into the back of the socket. Take your hand, now face your thumb back, your palm up. You're going to inhale up and over. For those with shoulder issues, your shoulder says no way. You could take your hand and hold on to the top of your shoulder, like get your fingers to touch the top of your shoulder, and try to do this with your elbow. Actually, let's all do that. We'll go into it that way. Those that can do full arm will do full arm. The rest will stay there. So take your hand on top of your shoulder. The other hand is on your thigh. Let's take a big exhale. Exhale creates space because you take everything out. Exhale. Now inhale. Exhale to come down. Go slow. Inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. Stay there if you have shoulder issues, and if you don't, take your hand off. Inhale, up. Keep your arm alongside your ear. Don't let it come to the cheek and over. Don't let it come forward. Reach your arm out your socket. Really feel that big stretch between the rib cage and the pelvis. Create space on that side. Last one, we're going to go over and stay over. And then look up towards the sky so that you see in front of your arm. Push your arm back. Take one more breath. And then slowly, slowly, slowly bring yourself out. So we are going a little slower, a little deeper. Hopefully that will be safe, more safe for you, because you'll explore a stretch deeply with awareness. So you can tell if you're in the safe zone or not. Let's bring the other foot out to the side and then pay attention. Notice when you first do that, where are you? Where are you with this? Is this a tighter side for you? Is this a more limber side? Does it feel more difficult? Does it feel easier? And just notice. And then you could do a little bend and release. Bend and release. It's like swaying your hips to the side, hips to the side, hips to the side. And it really takes place here. You go into a straight line and you add a little bit of a bend right here in the hip joint. And then come into the deep stretch there. Look at your foot, pinky toe edge. Grab the floor with your feet. See the feet grabbing the floor. And the arch, feel the arch lifting up. Take your hand alongside your body. Nice long chest. Remember the clavicle bones here are being supported and lifted up towards the sky with like helium balloons. And then let's take your hand on your shoulders, holding onto your shoulders. Let's exhale to create space, lots of space, big exhale. And then begin, inhale. Go slow so you explore and you feel that stretch. If you'd like to add the full arm, go slow so you see what's your range of motion. Where's all your stuff? Where is your tightness? Where is the asymmetry in the body? Last one, you're going to stay here. Deep breaths. And then you're going to look up to the sky, push that arm back so you see as little of that arm as possible. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. Come all the way off. Sit back on your heels if you can. So that's nice for the spine, freeing up the movement. We've done, even if my intention was to focus mostly on the psoas in the lunge series, we added the twist at the end. So that brought in the spinal aspects, and the trunk aspect is to stretch the upper trunk. And that can really help to move away from that low back tension where so much goes to the low back. So that can really help to lengthen and disperse or disseminate the accumulation of all that tension and stress in the low back area. So this next one we're going to do has that same aspect. This is for the upper body, and it is to really create that spinal aspect of lengthening. So first I'd like to go to a little bit of shoulder, take out some tension here. So the shoulder, the upper arm bone is like an orange. It's a bone, and yeah, here it is, right? If you go like that, you see how it's almost the same size. I did an art class once, and when I was teaching the kids, my kids were 10 years old, how to draw, they were showing us how the body, how the proportions are pretty right alignment. So if you do this with a fist, make a fist, here's your forearm bones, right? Two of them, ulna and the radius. And then you have your hand. And if you bend your elbow and you get close to your shoulder, it's pretty much the size of the humerus bone, the upper arm bone, right? So take your hands, and your upper arm bone, your humerus is a ball, and it's like an orange sitting on top of a saucer. So it's a shallow set joint in the top. It's like an orange on top of a saucer. So hold your oranges. Bring your hands here to hold your oranges. And this is like the rotator cuff. Take your thumb in the back for those of you with rotator cuff issues. There's 4 pieces to the rotator cuff, 4 tendons that are the rotator cuff that hold on, help support that shoulder. And is so prone to injury. So many people that I'm working with have shoulder issues. So let's hold on to your orange. Hold on to your orange, get nice and tall. Whether you're up here, if your knees are not bending, you might be up here, or you're down here. Inhale. As you exhale, let your chin go straight down towards your chest. Let your elbows come towards each other. And then inhale to lift the arms up, open your throat. Let your elbows go as wide as they can. So this is not a little move. This is the biggest movement you can make. Exhale to bring your chest down, bring your arms down. When the elbows come towards each other, many of you will not touch. That's okay. The elbows go up, and then you make the biggest circle you can. You probably will feel the stretch of the abdominals, opening up the front of the body, taking sitting out of the body. Inhale, really open. Let's do one more. And then bring yourself back. All right. I don't know if that feels as good for you as it feels for me. It feels amazing. So those of you that chat with me, text me, email me, let me know how it is, or even here after class. All right. We're going to do a little bit to open the front of the body. Again, do what's appropriate for you. You could take your legs pretty wide or have them body distance. You could take the arms closer to the body, which is a little bit more of a deeper stretch. Closer together is a deeper stretch. Or you may need to be far apart. You may need your hands to face this way. You may need your elbows bent. But one thing I ask is please do not cave in your chest. Don't let your heart fall to your spine. Push your heart up. Keep your heart away from your spine. All right. And that's what this hand position does. When you have your hands together, your shoulder blades help support the heart and don't let it collapse. So if your wrists or whatever else don't let you be close together, then don't cave your heart. Exhale, make space. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. One more. Inhale to lift. Stay here. Reach your pelvis as high as you can. Try to get flat with your body. It's called tabletop. And then bring yourself down. Let's come onto our knees. We're going to stretch and lengthen our spine, stretching the back, getting as tall as you can. Some of you may need a block. This is a puppy dog posture. And the goal is, here's my pelvis right on top of my knees. My knees are bent. My hip at this point is not bent, but I am going to bend my hip and move my pelvis. And now my pelvis is hovering over my shins, right? So that's what you want to do here to lengthen your spine. Maybe you need a block. Maybe you don't. Arms are straight. Stretch your spine. Let your forehead rest on the block or on the floor, and then push your heart towards the floor. Feel that deep stretch underneath the armpits, underneath the chest, and then take one armpit at a time and push it closer to the floor. Feel the deep stretch in the armpit area. Stretch your tissue. The direction that's given for the postures is Sthira Sukha, effort and ease. Find the balance between the appropriate effort and the appropriate ease in each posture you do, whether it's stretching, strengthening, whatever it is. Take one more breath. Lengthen your spine from the crown of your head to your tailbone. And then bring yourself up. And for those that have low back issues, try that lengthening that we just did there in that puppy dog posture to really pull out any tension that may exist in the low back. Let's come down to the ground and take your block off to the side. Bring yourself all the way down onto the ground. Let your legs and your arms go up and shake, shake, shake to let them settle. Let's take we're going to do a little bridge flow here. So I would say 0 blanket is best. And if you need blanket underneath your head, then walk your feet. We're all going to walk our feet pretty far away from our body anyway. Take your block, bring your block between your knees. Walk your feet away from your body. So you're not close to your body. Do like this so that your feet go where they're going to go, and then let them be there and walk them away. So when we come up, we're coming up to about lower ribs. Really make this about low back, tushy, and back thighs. Notice if you're a cramper, if you tend to cramp, you need to go slow. Lift your head up, tuck your chin towards your chest. Take your arms down alongside your body, and palms are in the ground. Exhale, create space, squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy, flatten the low back, and then inhale to rise. Exhale to lower. Close your eyes. Feel your spine. Try to undulate each vertebra. Really feel the spine bending. You're not coming up as one unit. You're actually peeling the spine away from the ground one at a time, and then you start placing or pushing the spine towards the ground, trying to get one vertebra to touch, then the other, then the other, then the other. Rocking forward to your tailbone, And then flattening the low back, begin the rise, close your eyes and feel this rock and roll in your body. Rock and roll that pelvis, make sure it moves. Don't keep it frozen. On your next one up, you're going to stay up. Stay up. Eyes are closed. Grab the floor with your feet, even the toes. And if you're a cramper, really grab the floor with the toes. So it's not all back body. It's not all hamstrings having to do this and glutes. Feel whatever you feel, wherever you feel it. Squeeze the block, squeeze your tushy. And even though you're up, try to let your low back be close to the floor. So there's a posterior tilt. Lengthen your knees away. Squeeze your block, squeeze your tushy. Feel what you're feeling. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. Take the block out to the side, draw the knees back to center. Draw your blanket under your head and take your strap. Put your strap on your right foot. Let's do a little leg stretch here. So your strap is on your foot and then draw your leg behind you. I'm going to keep my opposite leg bent. Just stretching back there. Let's bend the knee and straighten. Bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. And then take the strap up to the top part of the foot. Little harder here. Leg is straight. You know, you're all the way up by your toes. Pull the strap down so you feel your calf stretch. Bend and straighten. So you're down lower in that leg now, down at the calf. Bending and straightening. Straighten, stay there. And then bring the left leg up. Put the foot on the arch. Keep the opposite knee bent. You're holding onto the strap. And then you're going to draw the leg back, whatever that means for you, wherever it is. And then let's do a little bend and straighten. So barely unbend your knee. You don't need to go really deep in the knee bend here. You're just unbending and straightening. Or bend and straighten, right? Because unbending and straightening is the same thing. One day I'll learn how to speak. And then let's bring your strap up to right underneath the toes. Pull the strap down so you feel the calf stretch, and then bend the knee and straighten, and straighten, bend and straighten. Now stay here. Feel the calf stretch, hopefully. And then go ahead and bend the knee. Let's take the strap up. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to stretch our low back by elevating our back up on the block. And this is a elevated bridge, or it's an inversion supported bridge. So if you could place the top of your pelvis onto the block and then let your pelvis flatten a little bit. If you have a blanket underneath your head, make sure it's very narrow. And then try to lengthen your rib cage away from your pelvis. So I'm going to pick my rib cage up by pushing my head into the ground, and then or my arms into the ground, and then moving my pelvis away. So I feel a little bit of a stretch here, stretching from the low back to the hip bones. Walking your feet a little closer together. If you'd like to take one leg straight. Push your heart up towards the sky. So more of the filet mignon stretching, the psoas. And then let's do the other side. Make sure that this is appropriate. And if it's not appropriate, don't do it. And then bring yourself back to center. Time for Shavasana. So you're going to move the block out, bring your knees into your chest. Choose whatever way you would like to end your practice today. It could be legs up the wall, or it could be coming into the regular or traditional Shavasana. Find what's appropriate for you. You want it to be nice and relaxing. Let go, let go, let go. If you want to bring your awareness back to your throat, or you want to bring it to your hands or on the heart, your hand is on the belly, whatever's appropriate for you. Do whatever feels good. Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Yamame Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Yamame Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Nyaname Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Nyaname Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyam Kariyam Yaname 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 Akame Govinde Mukande Udare Hariam, Yaname, Kame, Govinde, Mukande, Mudare, Apare, Hariam, Hariam, Yaname, Kame. Bring your awareness to your breath. Bring the awareness to your head as you start to roll your head side to side, keeping the eyes closed, nice and gentle. Bring your awareness to your fingers and your toes. Move your fingers, move your toes. And then bend your knees, draw your knees into your chest, one at a time. It's important to keep the range of motion in your joints and in your body. So many of the movements that we did today were for that purpose, to stretch our body glove. And we did it a little more deeply with some of those postures, adding some weight bearing to that. And then stretching the joints so we can have a greater range of motion in the joints with a lot of the postures that we did today. Let's bring yourself onto your side. And then pushing yourself up to a seated position. We're going to close our practice today with sound. The sound Om is the sound of consciousness. It's the sound of life. It's a sound that all living things together make. And when the ancient rishis would sit on a mountaintop to listen to the sound of life, it was this humming sound. And this is our sound as humans on our exhale. As your mouth is open and you begin your sound, it's ah. And as you begin to close your mouth, it goes through the O or the U vowels, ah. And when the mouth is closed, it makes the sound. So try that. Mouth is open to close. That's what the Om sound is. So it's your sound, whatever that is. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I know a lot of people get caught up trying to make this Om. But you make it just this nice, beautiful U. And when I was taught in India by some of the greatest minds in the scientific research of yoga, he said to keep the sound here from your heart to your throat. So it's here. Keep it in here, heart to throat. It comes up your spine as the lungs empty. So let's take our hands together, rub our hands together. Put your thumbs between your sternum bones, sit nice and tall, lengthen your body, lengthen the back of your neck. Take a deep breath all the way down to your belly. Bowing our heads to each other in recognition of what's in me is in you. The light that is in me is the same light that's in you. Namaste. So pay attention to how you feel after today's practice and let that be a guide for, did you do too much or was it appropriate for you? And always being in your own body to do whatever is your range of motion. And if you keep practicing, you get stronger and more limber and you open up channels and areas in your body. And even some of the stuff I do now, I didn't do in my mid-30s and I'm in my mid-50s. Because it's a practice. And maybe that's something that you get to, maybe it's not, it doesn't matter, it is what it is. Just keep everything flowing and mobile and loosey and juicy. That's the goal. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. And let's see if there's any comments or anything from any of you I'd like to hear. Hi, Michael. Thank you. You're welcome. Because I know who's here in class, I try to give things appropriate, and I know some of that stuff was a little intense for some of you. So hopefully you were smart enough to realize that maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe your knees don't bend or whatever. All right. Well, thank you. We're off. We're off for a whole week. We're not back on Saturday until 2 weeks from today. So I will see you. Thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome, Raina. Yeah, and we got to do the whole class, right? That's great. All right, maybe they did fix my internet. All right, have a great day, everyone. Thank you. You're welcome, Lynn. Thank you, Raina. I will. Bye.